2, 1. There we go. Victoria, welcome to a Fireside Chat. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty great. Thank you for having me, Eric.
Of course. I'm gonna be honest, out of all the people I've had on so far, I don't think nervous is the right word, but you have probably your hands in the most different buckets. It's very hard to figure out where I should start with Miss Victoria, NFT Queen, XR Ninja. You're a little bit all over the place, but let's I want to revisit that last Clubhouse talk that you were part of with that app. I'm not sure if Crypto King was trolling or being real. I did not fact check this, but as a little bit of a background for the chat, we were talking about an app, an AR app on the phone that would basically predict what you look like naked. So anybody who had that app up could just pull it up in a mall and fairly accurately to some people was showing people what they would look like naked. Um, Victoria, that conversation, it was real. I think it just turned into a consent conversation, which is cool. But that problem is going way deeper than consent. There's some bigger things. And you were very quiet, surprisingly, on that conversation. I want to hear what Victoria thinks about that app.
Well, first of all, Crypto King, he likes to troll. That's like
Yeah.
most of what he does, just generally speaking. Um, but that app actually didn't really make people naked. It just kind of it blurred their bodies to make it seem like they were being censored and naked.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so it didn't actually show any like false body parts, put on a human through AI, right? Um, but assuming that it was an app that allowed you to, see what people looked like naked, I think that's fucked up.
Well, I mean, we gotta admit, it's probably coming sooner than later, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, GPT-3 is it's pretty robust, so I could absolutely see somebody entering some large data sets and creating an app like that. It's pretty easy to integrate GPT-3 into things. You could easily do it with Python. So like here we are. We literally already have the technology for it. Um, but if somebody did do that, unless it was a joke, it'd be really fucked up. I mean, it takes away a person's privacy. It takes away a person's agency,
Hmm.
and let's not even get into the children discussion.
No, let's
Mm.
not. That's. I don't think we don't got enough time in the world for that. And no right answers. Damn, damn, Victoria. I don't want to go there, but I do want to go. If it's coming, and I fully believe it is. I fully believe that it's very hard to stop or slow down technology. What do we do once it's here? How do we mitigate this? Is there any way to, or we just have to get very used to a future idea with how people see us may not be the way we want them to see us. It's ultimately going to be their choice how they view us.
Hmm. How can we stop this? Well, one way is a way that I don't particularly like, and it's getting those, large companies that so many of us have issues with, like Facebook and Google and Apple, to, put the kibosh on it on their end, be like, no, you can't. You can be part of our thing. Bye. And then hammer them out. Just get out of our app stores. No. But then you could always sideload stuff. Sideloading has been around ever since, the first fucking iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you could always do that. Um, and this is where like my personal opinion comes into play. Um, Agency. We all need to do our part as individuals. To do what we can. We cannot control what other people do. I, in my life, the only way that I've ever been able to deal with any kind of situation has always been just to take my own responsibility and use my own agency and make the changes necessary that I need to make in order to protect myself. And it sounds like a dick comment, but
No, not at all.
that's all we I think that's all we could really do. Because we can't control people. There's people out there that do not have the best interests at heart of people or children or animals or any living creature. And that's unfortunately that's biology. Some people are just born that way. We we can sit here and be mad and try to take away everyone's agency because of a few bad apples, or we could use our own agency and do what we can to protect ourselves and protect the people around us.
Yeah, that's I never thought of it that way where yeah, we are kind of goes back to I think one of the conversations that we were in that clubhouse is that I was talking, well, I wasn't, Joshua Corvinus on Twitter, who will actually be on the next Fireside chat. He was just talking about a couple things, and we came to the conclusion, which I think is obviously we all know, is that the world's going to get weird very quick, very weirder, very quickly from an AR perspective. And what I want to be viewed as, what I say, hey, I'm proud of this about me. This is how I want to represent myself. I dress, I carry myself, my posture. It might be meaningless eventually. It might be. Someone with glasses could choose to make me look like a furry anytime he wants, and that's how I'm going to be presented to him anytime he sees me. But all I can do is hold my agency the best I can. But I think about this a lot with my kid, and I'm not really sure how to deal with that. But that conversation was going down a rabbit hole I didn't want to get into at that point either. But yeah, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. But what's Victoria up to right now?
I've been like knee deep, actually more like head deep into this metaverse that I'm building in WebXR. Right now there's a prototype up at virtual-reality.city. So if anybody wants to jump in and check it out, it's like right now that version that's up, it's bare bones. I do not even have networking enabled. So only one person at a time could visit. I coded the whole thing and I made all of the structures in Blender and a few things in Tilt Brush. But my next update is going to have networking, so multiple people can jump in. It's going to be AR enabled too, so it's going to be cross-platform. You could visit it on a PC in your browser. You could go into a VR headset, Oculus and Vive. And you can also view it in mobile AR on Android. So as far as I know, it's the first virtual and augmented reality, like virtual space metaverse type thing that I've seen. Maybe it's
What is
not the first.
the use case for this one? What's your ultimate goal with it? Just are you providing a space for people to chat? Is there an ultimate goal?
Yeah, so do you remember back in the 90s when the internet was first happening, Internet 1.0?
Uh,
Before Google and before Yahoo, there were these magical things called web rings.
I
Do you
think you might have
remember?
me beat on this. I was born in '89, so
Oh,
I can't. I had dial up for all of a little bit, but I think I missed that. I was not as tech savvy back then.
oh, I see. Well, I was born in '86, so just a few years before you, but I've always loved computers ever since I was a little child. Like, computers have always been my obsession. Always, 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 always. Computers and video games. They're the things that have helped me, not be a runaway child, came from an abusive household and was, like, on the street doing drugs, right? Like, my drug was computers. So I just it's literally all I've ever done my entire life. So anyway, circling back, in the mid-90s, when you would visit the internet, there weren't really any search engines. Like maybe Yahoo had just started, but it was still very, very nascent. It was not what search engines are today. So back then, in order to find websites that were pertinent to your interests, you would you would get together with other people who made other websites that had similar topics. And what you would do is you would create what was called a web ring, and you would link back to each other. The web ring would be a web page that listed all of those websites. And if you were a part of that web ring, on the footer of your website, you would say, oh, a part of blah, blah, blah web ring, and you'd link back to it. That way, if someone found your site and didn't know about the web ring, then they could be brought to the web ring through that footer, And then they'd be able to find all of these other websites that were, similar in topic.
Sure.
So my WebXR experience is kind of like the immersive web 3.0 version of that, where I'm going to be linking to a lot of other experiences. I have a lot of friends who have plots in crypto voxels, and we're going to have portals into my world that shoot to their world and vice versa. I'm looking into buying a plot in crypto voxels, so my plot will obviously be linked to and from my metaverse. And I have a few other friends who are currently building WebXR experiences on Mozilla hubs, which are going to be linking back as well. So I'm viewing my little metaverse as a metaverse hub world, if you will, where you could come in and there's games, there's stuff that you could do, you could chill at, you could still host meetups because it's still, a multiplayer application. You could also, obviously, you could do it in VR, you could do it on the web, you could do it in mobile AR on Android. So you could, point your phone into the world and actually view the cityscape inside of your room. I have it so that when you're in AR, all of the background is removed,
Mm.
so you see the world in your room. So you could just kind of like walk around the world and walk into a building inside of your house that's in AR. um, so it's you know me. I like to do the cross reality thing. I
Hmm.
don't just do AR. I don't just do VR. I don't even just do mixed reality like I'm doing now. I'm doing all of it at the same time because I believe that the future is this layered physical and digital reality, especially when we start to have the mixed reality headsets. Hopefully, Apple's going to come up with one soon. I'm praying that they're going to say something at WWDC tomorrow, but they probably won't, but I want them to. Um, but yeah, so yeah, the use case is to be a hub, to be a meetup spot, and I'm also having a shopping system, which I don't want to get into too many details because my shopping system is actually quite novel. Um, and I have a few investors interested in investing in this shopping idea. So I really don't want anyone to like yoink it out from
No,
under me.
no. The only thing you have on a new idea is the speed in which that you make that. So after that, someone's gonna swoop right in. We don't need to get into that, but I do want to. I like I like how you do want to have the mix of both the virtual and real world. It's not just one or the other, because that ultimately is. I'm picturing like you just gave nothing but Ghost in the Shell vibes that entire conversation. I'm just picturing a hub that I jump into and go anywhere. But I do want to. What interests me is the point of buying that plot of land. I don't fully understand this whole buying virtual land when I don't see the scarcity. But I'm also not looking into it, so I'm very ill informed on anything on the subject matter. What is going? Explain this to me, because I'm completely lost on buying virtual land.
Well, I'm also very new to buying virtual land as well. I personally have never actually believed in buying virtual land as a developer myself. Like
Sure.
I'm why would I buy land if I could literally like make my own, right? Like my WebXR metaverse, like I bought server space and I could do whatever the fuck I want with it. I can make it as little or as large or as whatever as I want, right? Whereas if I were to like pay for a plot in like for example crypto voxels, I'm sandboxed into their world.
Hmm. And right
Um
now we can terraform the entire reality the way you want, but we're buying specific points of land, which maybe it is valuable. I don't know, but I'm a little skeptical on it.
yeah, it seems to me as though it's about community and popularity. I actually had zero interest into buying anything inside crypto voxels until a lot of my the DAOs that I'm a part of, decentralized autonomous organizations. They're basically anarchist groups of crypto nerds that get
Okay.
together and form a group where it's a completely decentralized group. There is no leader. We all just do. It's a duocracy. So a lot of my DAOs ended up purchasing land in crypto voxels, and it's kind of becoming a little bit poppin' in the crypto sphere right now. So it's like, I want to sell wearables because that's another thing that I do. I sell wearables. I sell virtual and augmented reality wearables. Um, and I wanted to, start selling crypto voxels wearables for my friends.
Mhm.
But I couldn't even make a wearable. Not even talking about selling it, just straight up like make it unless I bought a plot of land on crypto
So
voxels. I was
what's
like,
the
ah,
reasoning behind that? So, is this the ultimate virtual reality gatekeeping? I mean, I'm kind of being facetious there, but it does kind of sound like that.
a little bit, Hey, people want to have ETH, so they are selling whatever they can. They're selling, plots of NFT land, which is what, crypto voxels is, right? They're selling these plots as NFTs through OpenSea. I was like, okay, cool. I respect your hustle. We all out here, fam. Um,
That hustle though,
but
it's, and I'm not playing a fine line. NFTs, I don't fully understand them either. I'm not going to put anyone down on it, but the one thing that I do appreciate of virtual reality is there is no current scarcity for the masses right now. It is a new platform that is open to all. Anyone can do anything. There's nothing that's truly scarce in VR, but artificially, if we start making it, it's just crossing over to reality at that point.
yeah, I completely agree with you, 100%. Um, a lot of these metaverses are um they're essentially trying to recreate our current systems, but just in a virtual space. Which, hey, more power to you. If you feel like the current systems of the world work for you and you want to continue to propagate those systems, cool. Like I am all for agency, as I'd said before. Um, but I personally do want to try to shake things up a little bit. Um, the current paradigms that we're all living with don't exactly work for, I have to say, the majority of people, frankly.
Yeah, I would
Um,
agree with that fully. I see a lot of artists in VR right now. I think the biggest problem they have is that, well, there's many, but they're all fractured among many different individual experiences within VR. Everyone's trying a little bit of everything. It is very easy to rip off the creations of somebody. It's too easy to take someone's avatar or someone's assets that they're using in VR chat, for instance, or even Neos to a degree, and rip them off instantly. I don't see many opportunities for VR artists that seem secure right now. And ultimately, they should feel more secure because I don't know what you're playing right now. We can get into that, but I've been dabbling more into Neos than I have VR chat. But either way, both of them, from where it started to what they're making now, and not being able to monetize that, it should be illegal. They're making amazing stuff, and they should be able to monetize this.
I agree. 100%. 100%. But there's so many of these walled garden metaverses that don't allow you to monetize it because they have their own forms of monetization. Um, and so that's one of the things that I want to do with my metaverse that's different from these is I want to allow the creator to be able to monetize literally anything that they create, right? That's why like my little shopping center, Victory Castle Mall, is like such a linchpin to my project, which is ironic because I can't speak about it because I don't want again my someone to come out from under me that has a team because I'm literally just me. I'm building this all by myself from the ground up, both the back end and the front end. So it's going to take me a while longer, but yeah, it's really, really important for me to be able to enable people to make and build their lives in the way that they want to do it. Um, I the way things work here in today's society is you have to fucking get a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to fucking deal with your boss, right? And then you have to fucking deal with your coworkers, right? And in many cases, all of those people are toxic. You know, but you have to do it because you have to survive, because apparently, you know, food and water and safety and shelter is not a right, it's a privilege. And I don't believe that. I believe that all of those things should be human rights, not fucking privileges that we have to pay for and work our asses off just to maintain the bare necessities. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah,
Which is
I
why I think
mean,
the metaverse is so important.
I think that's. I mean, I don't think many people will disagree. Oh, actually, I take that back. It's the internet. You'll have people disagreeing with you, but I'm even on board with that and going as far as to say the internet should be a public, at that point, a right to everybody. Because in this day and age, the amount of information, if you're lacking that information, the access to it, good luck. Yeah, that's not good. I do want to bring up though, if we're going to be talking about the real world and opinions on how the current structure is set up, the virtual structure though, what's to stop any of the same things from happening? I mean, I'm going to go specifically to, let's just say, trolling or the negative aspects. If you have full anonymity in VR chat, for instance, what's to stop the same thing from happening but not tenfold? Because in my mind, if I'm anonymous, there's really no repercussions to any of my actions inside VR chat, and that's something that's pretty obvious depending on who you play with.
That's true. But there's something that the virtual world and VR chat allows us that the real world does not.
Ooh,
And
I'm
that's the
excited.
ability to block a motherfucker. Let me tell you, Eric. Let me tell you. If I had a real life block list, that shit would be so poppin'. It would be like the most popular nightclub in the world, Victoria's block list. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be blocking motherfuckers left and right. I'd be like, oh, really? Okay, blocked. Oh, really? Is that how you feel about my hair? Bitch, blocked. Okay.
So what
Like,
would I have to do on the virtual reality side to be on Victoria's block list?
um, you have to be abusive. You have to be someone that's like a total dick that doesn't allow someone's individuality. And then there's like special use cases of people, and this could be like, maybe I'm a dick for doing this, maybe I'm not, but there's certain people that I like that I have like very strong feelings for, that I had to block just for my own like mental health. Like, I'm totally in love with this one person who, he knows who he is, and if he's watching this, he knows exactly who he is. That I had to block because, not because I don't want to see him, the opposite, because I wanted to see him too much. And because we have so much in common, like we literally have almost everything. Like it's ridiculous. Even like a lot of the history of like how we got our names, so similar. Uh, um,
If you're out there, mystery man, find a
yeah.
way, find a
He
way.
to- he totally rejected me. He has no interest in me. He thinks I'm like, ugh. I like disgust him. And that's valid. But because we do have this much in common, the algorithms on the internet, they constantly show me his posts. Constantly. Constantly. Everywhere I go, it's like, post from so and so because you have all of these things in common. So then obviously you're gonna want to see his posts. And I'm like, no. So let's block him. But, you know, those use cases are few and far between, in that I want to be able to see someone so much but can't. But for the most part, to get blocked in my book, you have to be a real dick.
All right, fair enough. That could be pretty easy though, soon in these social VR platforms. I was talking with this person. They're gonna remain anonymous as well because they're also creating certain haptics that they don't want to get out there too quickly until they perfect it a little more. But it's their haptic. It's like a haptic vest, but for different body parts. More basically all over. And I'm wondering when those start becoming the norm, blocking is going to become real needed real quick because you can invade someone's privacy very quickly and you have no physical recourse to get out of that situation other than to run away or to block. Um, but that's something I think about daily with especially having kids and what they're going to be doing. It's going to be a weird world,
Yeah,
Victoria. It's going to be a very weird
it is.
world.
It
Are
is.
you ready?
And I think I know the person that you're talking about regarding those haptics, and it might be the same person that I love blocked.
Uh-oh.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know who I'm not going to take a guess on that one.
Not publicly, no.
No, maybe we can talk about that after. Um, but yeah, you did bring up before we started talking, you're looking into Japanese retro games right now. I did want to get into that because I've been playing a few of those in VR, and they're kind of nuts.
Oh my God. Okay. So as I said briefly before, I ran video game conventions and events in Florida. I ran Miami's first video game convention, and I had a huge, huge, huge video game collection. And I ended up having a lot of separate rooms dedicated to different types of games. I had a retro game museum, and I had a fighting game room. I had a first person shooter room, and then I had a Japanese retro game room. And like one of my favorite games of all time is Para Para Paradise. And I'm sure you probably never heard of it.
Nope,
It's
nope.
okay. Most people haven't. It was a Konami game, and it was part of the Bimani series, you know, the series that DDR
Hmm.
birthed. And it's very DDR-ish. But instead of having a pad on the floor that you would step on with the arrows, it would have sensors on the floor that would sense your arm movements, right?
Hmm.
And frankly, it was like Beat Saber, but like 2 decades before Beat Saber, and it was actually based off of modern Japanese dance called para para. It was a club dance. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was all the rage in Tokyo, and they'd have these para para clubs where they the top record label at the time, Avex Tracks, would release these para para instructional videos to teach you how to dance to these club songs. And then you'd go to the Japanese clubs, and then you'd see all of these people like doing the dance together. They learned the dance moves, and then they were, you know, clubbing. And when the songs came on, just everyone was just like on it, like to the beat. And then they came out with this game, which was same thing. It was a para para game, and it instructed you how to do these dances. And I became obsessed. I I bought the game, and at the time I had a modded PS2 because I was always into import games, but the DRM on that specific game was so tight that you could not burn a copy of it and play it on your modded PS2 or purchase the official game and play it on a modded PS2. You had to actually have a Japanese PS2 to play this game. So what the fuck did I do? I went and I bought myself a Japanese PS2. And I bought the game, and I bought the controller with the sensors, and I was in heaven. I learned all of the songs. In fact, my first ever VR game, the first ever thing that I ever made was a Para Paradise clone in VR, um, like 4 years ago.
Can anyone find this out there right now?
No, because I never showed it to anyone,
Oh,
and it's on a hard drive somewhere. I might port it over to WebXR though. So be on the lookout for that. I might, you know, get hyped up about it enough and add it as an experience in my little arcade in my metaverse. I'll let you know. Um, but yeah, like that. Oh, that game was mwah, one of my most treasured games of all time, and also Rhythm Heaven, Rhythm Tengoku. It originally came out on the Game Boy Advance. Um, I love rhythm games, by the way.
I
Those are
could
like
tell.
my oh, whoa, gosh. Ugh.
So I'm assuming that's
But
going to take up the majority of your VR gaming time then.
yes, it actually is. So what I do in VR for the most part, it's actually create. I'm like in Tilt Brush most of the time, frankly. That's why like I was able to like get this up and running so quickly. And I fucked up my spot because I was nervously playing around with this. So, but whatever, it's okay. Uh, but yeah, so I do a lot of prototyping in VR. And then I play a lot of rhythm games. And I am frankly mostly playing Beat Saber and Audio Trip right now. Those are my favorites. I tried O-Shape. I don't know why I wasn't into it. I want to like it, but I can't explain why I wasn't super into
Thinking
it.
maybe it's more on the fitness side than the rhythm side to a degree.
I don't know, because I'm into fitness games, right? Like I used to be obese like a year and a half ago. Like I was not like this. Like I had to do a lot of working in order to um lose as much weight. And VR actually played a really big part of that.
Oh,
Um
well, first of all, congratulations. I think all those stories, you probably, I don't know if you knew, you know, because you were in the chat, I think, for a little bit with Jeff Bull Jr. over at Black Box VR. We were talking fitness quite a bit last week. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that journey. I'm very interested. I was watching literally the day before that talk, I was just on YouTube watching transformation story after transformation story, and they were okay, but heavily edited, mostly experiments. But I hadn't actually watched anyone who did it and seen the end result. They were just like little tiny experiments.
yeah. So my journey my journey started out with that person that I love blocked. I was like, wow, like this person is so much like me and they changed their life. Why can't I? Like seriously. Like this guy is such a fucking nerd. Like he did it. He's right there. He did the thing. Like he's living proof that it can happen.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna fucking do it too. Um, and then that started my journey. And that's frankly actually why I fell for this person because like I this person changed my life. Um, I I became completely like obsessed with the idea of being closer to the person that I always wanted to be because this person did it first.
Mm.
And it motivated me like nothing else in my life. Um I I did when I was at my like thickest, I was doing 5 hours of cardio a day where it was a combination of like playing a little bit of VR. Unfortunately, I couldn't spend as much time in VR because the headset got too heavy.
Mm.
Um, but I've always been a dancer my whole life. So I'd do about maybe like 45 to an hour in VR, and then I'd just kind of like go hard and listen to like K-pop for the next like 4 hours. And I was exhausted, and I also did 6 days of resistance training as well, but 7 days cardio. And I went from 180 pounds to 114 pounds in about 8 months.
Wow. Well, congratulations. There had to be a point probably during that. I know you did it for Mystery Man. If you're out there, come on, Mystery Man. But eventually it turns into doing it for yourself, which I think that's probably why you're where you are today. Um,
Absolutely.
but the dancing stuff, I'm assuming. I mean, are you not part of any of the VR chat dancing worlds? Because they're getting pretty insane. I actually got into one. It was a friend of a friend who showed me a little bit about it, but it was an underground nightclub where if I had not been told about it, I would have never ever been able to find it. That was probably one of the best times I've ever had in VR chat in my life. I've never felt more safe and more secure in dancing and being myself in VR because it's a
Mm.
little awkward at first. But my God, was that the most inviting group that I can't tell you where I think they kind of like change locations all the time. But my God, it felt so secretive, exclusive. I don't know if that's a good thing for VR, but I enjoyed it personally. Have you ever been to one of those?
No, I actually have not. I don't spend that much time in VR chat. I I never liked it before. Um, and the one time that I did start to spend a little bit more time in VR chat, I actually ended up falling in love with someone else. You know, not Mr. Love Block, a totally different guy who also rejected me in VR. So I haven't gone back since. I don't know why like super like nerdy and smart guys keep on like rejecting me, but like here we are.
Hey,
um
Chat, here you go. There you go. I've got to imagine that. Well, actually, do you follow? Oh my God, why am I brain Fia? Fia. I was almost brain farting the name. Do you know who Fia is?
no, I don't know who that is.
She is a VR content creator, really good one. But she met her current boyfriend in VR chat. They actually just recently met up IRL for the first time since coronavirus is now lifting a lot of restrictions. That seems like a really good story, and I don't. I'm very curious to see how dating starts happening. Let's stick on dating. I know you probably. I'm going to be dredging up some stuff you don't want to go over, but it's got to be the next frontier of where we're going. Fun fact: I met my wife through Bumble, so it's the traditional millennial online story, and now we're together. But I've got to imagine if VR in 5, 10 years, that is probably where I would have been meeting possibly my future spouse. Um, have you ever looked into dating sites on VR? Because they're out there. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I haven't. I haven't because I don't do the whole dating site thing. I've tried, but I feel like I connect with people by like having like deep discussions and getting to know them and like knowing what they do and being inspired by someone. Like the fastest way for me to fall for someone is actually for me to be inspired by them. I'm not into the way someone looks. I'm not into how much money they have. I'm not into, like all of the superficial type of stuff that a lot of people appear to be into. Me, you really need to move me and like stir my soul in order for me to feel that way. And traditional dating apps, they just don't cut it. Because number one, you cannot get to know someone from those stupid profiles, even if it's a very long profile, like, you still can't. And number 2, you're when you do meet up with them, because I have met up with, like, men and women that I've met on dating apps. I'm pansexual. Um, but we never hit it off because it always feels like, for me, they're putting on some kind of, like, a front, like they're trying to live their profile when I meet them. That's not what I want, it's not what I'm looking for,
Does
you
that
know?
translate to VR chat? And are you going to be playing out your avatar, or does getting rid of all those restrictions? If you see me in VR, I'm not going to dress up for you because my avatar is going to do that. I don't need to flaunt accommodations because we're going to visit wherever we choose to visit. It could be a mansion, it could be Breath of the Wild World, it could be anywhere. There is all these things that maybe we put on as pageantry in a dating scene that in VR is fairly meaningless. The biggest difference is identifying if the person behind said avatar is who they truly say they are. It sounds like that might be something more up your alley.
Yes, it would be. And I have not tried VR dating. The closest thing was, me falling for this person, but we met through other means. We met online on a social media site as friends, right? I didn't actually start falling for him until we started spending time talking, especially in these metaverses. Like, it was crazy because, like, when I would be, like, next to him in VR, um, I'd be in my bed in my room, and I would just kinda, like pretend to curl up with him. I'd have my pillow and then, like, my duvet, and I just, like, put it over myself, and I, like, pretend like I was, like, cuddling and hugging him, and my brain tricked myself into thinking that we were actually cuddling. Like, I just wanna put that out there. If you, like, pretend hard enough, you could trick your body into, like, having sensory responses.
It's if you feel it truly, it's not. I mean, it's gonna get kind of. It's not a trick. If the body really is feeling it, it's real. Doesn't matter if you guys are 100 miles apart, 5,000 miles apart. It's real if your body and mind believe it. I mean, I remember VR chat for me. I was playing with Provi one time, and we're just running around the sky like these giant stone goddesses. I'm trying to run over her ass all the way to her fingers. And by the time we got to the top, like, yeah, I forgot it was fake. And I'm sitting there looking out on the horizon, getting kind of emotional. it felt like I knew this guy and we've talked and I considered him a friend, but that virtual friend and IRL friend got real blurred real quickly in that moment. I was like, I'm here with you, brother. Like this is a human connection. So I don't see why, even if it's a trick, why it's not real. It really is.
It felt real, man. It felt hella real. And then when he rejected me, it felt even more real.
You got rejected 5,000 miles away.
I did.
Not
He
to
lives
make
in
light of
Europe,
that.
bro. No, he lives in Europe, and like it was hard. It was hard. It's really hard. Like the last year and a half has been like, ironically, I'm hotter than I've ever been in my entire life, but I've also been rejected more than I've ever been rejected in my entire life. When I was overweight, I I liked guys and they liked me back really quickly. But like now that I'm like fit and stuff, it's like it's not happening. It's weird.
Let's go down here.
It's really weird.
I've got this rabbit hole kind of thought for you here. So I do not know who this is by, but there is a train of thought, and I think someone wrote a research paper on it one time, that the amount of people that you actually have qualified, I'll use the word qualified to date, is extremely limited. So, for example, say you live in a town with 100,000 people, and let's just say you're only in, just for argument's sake, you're into men. You just cut that population in half. Now there's an age range that you're interested in, that cuts it more. Now there's type, that cuts it more. There's feasibility. Like, when you get down to it, IRL, you have a smaller pool than you ever realized, depending on your preferences. Virtually, though, that pool now, especially with the internet, that pool gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So the cup half full sense is, if virtual dating becomes something more and more, which I fully believe it will, that pool of people that are available to Victoria, that are available to anyone in said chats, it just grows and grows. And that's kind of a very humbling and nice thought in my mind, because I do think that maybe we're all picking from the pool that we have. But if that pool was endless or greatly expanded, what better, stronger relationships could we build? Because we have the ability to find people that are perfect for us. It just might take some time.
Yeah. Yeah. I fully do expect that I'll find the person, male, female, non-binary, whatever they are. It'll probably be in some kind of a virtual space. Because that is where I feel most comfortable. I feel most comfortable in digital space, not so much meat space. I deal with meat space because I have to.
Hold on, meat space. I like that term. I haven't heard that before. So why do you feel more comfortable in virtual space compared to meat space, which I am going to use that much more and more?
um, Frankly, because meat space holds a lot of constraint, and there's just a lot of like molds that I, as a female bodied person, needs to fit into. And it can become quite problematic, especially when it comes to the person that I am on the inside, fit into any of those boxes that people like me are supposed to fit into. Um, but in the virtual world, right now, those paradigms don't really exist. I mean, there are some worlds that are, as we had discussed earlier, that do try to um like bring in old world
Mhm.
views into the new world. But for the most part, it's still very nascent. You could still do and be whatever the fuck that you want. And, meat space be damned, right? Like you could be born, female bodied, light skinned, Hispanic, but then like in the metaverse, you could be a purple skinned cyclops, that's a dragon, right? And then that's just who you are because that's what you feel like you are on the inside, right? And then you could do whatever you feel like that person slash avatar would do because you don't feel the constraints, right? When
Mhm.
people look at you in the metaverse, they're not going to be like, oh, there's this, this light skinned Hispanic girl. They're gonna be like, oh shit, it's this like this like marvelous fucking cycloptic dragon. This is cool, and like she's out here and like building like crazy shit, you know? Like
Yeah.
like it's just going to enable people to not be afraid to be who they really are. Because I feel like most people, myself included, feel like we have to put on a certain set of masks just to survive society, right? Because society's rules were placed upon us by a whole bunch of people that we don't know and will never know, who don't know us and will never know us, but we are still expected to live by these arbitrary fucking rules. And I'm just sick of it, fam. Like, I can't fit into these boxes that y'all are telling me that I need to fit into. This is just not who I am, right? And that's why, like, I build what I do because I feel like it's my only escape from the molds that I'm forced to fit into, from the judgments of everyone around me for not fitting into these molds, right? And also just trying to build my life, man. Like I am not good at having jobs, okay? Like I lived my dream of working for a fancy schmancy Silicon Valley company as a software engineer. I worked at Twilio for like they were one of the top 10 companies out here in Silicon Valley, right? Like I got my dream. It was okay for a little while until reality set in. And the reality of the situation is I don't think like most of these people. My thought process, the way I take in information, and the way I process the information is not like the others. And it becomes extremely problematic when I'm working in a group or when I'm working for someone that sees the way my brain works as being abnormal and being less than, and in many cases, being bad, right? The way I think and the way I process information isn't bad, it's just different. And this metaverse, this whole new digital space is allowing me and people like me to be able to build out a new life that's closer to what what comes naturally to us, right? This is why I sell NFTs, right? I sell NFTs because first of all, I got into it because somebody saw my work and told me that they wanted to buy it as an NFT. I didn't
That's
know what it was until they told me that they liked it enough that they wanted it. So then I dug in and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." Right? Like I'm able to create what I want to create, what comes from the soul, and then there's someone out there that wanted it. And there's a few people out there that want it too. So I've sold a bunch of NFTs now, and I wouldn't have been able to do that in the real world because of all of these meat space constraints and all of these, gender constraints and all of these sexuality constraints, right? Like who gives a shit about some queer Hispanic girl who fucking dresses up like she's going to an anime convention all the time? You know what I mean? Like it's this digital space has been the only space that I've had that has afforded me and I'll say it, the luxury of being able to live as authentically and be able to build my life as authentically as I need to.
I think it's powerful from someone who does not have as many molds daily that he has to fit into. That's just a fact. It's hard for any of us to understand that fully, and I'm happy that you found kind of that medium to be able to live the way you want. And that kind of the NFT comment you brought up the most kind of is a way that I was not previously thinking about it. I think you've probably seen some of my comments on NFTs. I was not always the biggest advocate or sold on them the most. However, the more you think about these things, you realize that whether or not they are what they are now, them being here now has implications for the future. And to hear how they provided somebody a different form to not fit in the molds that currently are, I didn't think about that before, and I guess I get that. Um, my question, and it's really more of a thought, but how does someone like yourself who has understood, has found a way to take this whole new medium of virtual reality, the entire metaverse, find your way into it, because I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more people who would love to go the route Victoria has, but it's an entire re-education process. You have to educate them and open their mind's eye that this is out there and you can do this, and you don't have to be that same person, because I think that is going to be a struggle. It's a struggle for a lot of people. I want to be someone more authentic in VR, but I still find myself being dumb a lot of times and taking what people expect and bringing that persona in there. It's a whole re-education process that Victoria got out of, but how does someone else kind of start that process?
Start the process of specifically re-educating yourself into the new digital frontier, or NFTs specifically?
The digital frontier. How do we allow ourselves to accept and be okay with and realize that no, what is going on in the meat space is what's going on there, but what's going over on the XR space doesn't have to be the same. It does not have to go by those rules. But I think a lot of people are scared that it's just a different reality with the same rules, and that's going to take some re-education.
Well, I'm not sure about re-education, because in my particular case, I was always the odd man out. I was always the weirdo. I was always like, you've heard the story of people getting picked last in gym class. I was literally never picked. Like, that's me. Like, I'm the person that's just not picked because I am way too fucking weird. So I didn't have to re-educate myself. I just found a space where I could exist as I am without having to deal with everyone else's opinions of me. Oh, you don't want me on your team, and the other team doesn't want me on their team, and then none of these teams want me on their team? Okay. I'm going to go into the digital space and, I'll either build my own team, or if no one wants to join my team, I'll build my own universe. I'll build my own castle, right? Um, my I wasn't born with the name Victoria del Castillo. This was a name that I chose, and I chose it very, very specifically. Um, I I was sitting in my old apartment in Florida. Um, my entire life was crumbling out from under me. I was getting kicked out of the apartment the month after because I didn't have any money to pay for it because I had lost both my jobs. I had, like, my boyfriend of 5 years at the time. We had broken up. I was all alone. I had nowhere to go. But, I was playing Fallout New Vegas, and I was fucking killing it. I was killing it. Like, I had all of the bottle caps. I had all of the bobbleheads. Like, I I I was just a badass, And, like, I was looking at my crumbling life and looking at this game and how dope I was playing this game and how dope I was at this fucking game. But why couldn't I integrate that dopeness into my real life? Why the fuck is my life crumbling out from under me? But my virtual self was killing it. So I decided that. Oh, my mixer got
Think you might have undone your mic there, Victoria. We'll be right back in a second, guys. We'll get that. Thank you to the chat for being here so far. And I would encourage, I think just while we have a moment here while Victoria's getting reset, open your mind a little bit to the conversation. I'm seeing some comments and some DMs. VR, XR, we talk about it a lot in terms of gaming. That's basically entirety of YouTube. It's all VR gaming, VR this, VR that. And the whole point of streams like this is to get the perspective from people who understand that it's not just that. It's more than gaming. To Victoria, it's changed her life for the better. I personally am trying to figure out a way to be more like that. I have my own problems with my IRL, and I feel like I have more ability to solve those problems with XR. But some of these DMs I'm getting, I would appreciate the conversation to go a little bit differently than the mindset. What we're going to do is we're going to take a super quick break. I need to help her out, I think, on this one. So we're going to go to the Be Right Back screen, and I will be right back in 5 minutes. All right, y'all. Looks like another Oculus Quest bit or ate the it's dead. So that Oculus Quest is not coming back. So Victoria did thank everyone for listening to her story. I wish we could have gotten into a couple more things. But Tuesday, Joshua Corvinus will be on the show by Transhumanist, and I have a lot of questions for him. A lot. That one's going to get deep. I am more nervous than I am excited. I'm going to be honest, Joshua, if you're in here, because your knowledge base is just light years ahead of me. But thank you guys for supporting this new type of content. It is helping me kind of learn more about myself, learn more about this virtual space, and how we can all be better virtual human beings. But thank you guys for stopping by. Sorry about the tech issues, but on to the next one. We'll have Victoria back on a different day. I'll see you next time, Space Cowboys.